This news update is brought to you by...
So, I'm meeting Rico later. Gotta check in with the girls, but first, let me check my usage on the MyLime app. Now, what should I wear? Hashtag sexy. He's here.
Welcome to the Barbados Today Afternoon Update. It's Friday, June 5th. Thanks for joining us. I'm Fernella Wedderburn. We begin with a plea from crop-over stakeholders to the government. They are urging the Ferndale Stewart administration to grant them the same relief afforded to tourism players when it comes to the payment of the value-added tax. The appeal for the VAT to be lowered to 7.5%, down from 17.5%, came during a meeting chaired by Culture Minister Stephen Lashley last evening. Under the VAT Amendment Bill 2013, companies registered as direct tourism services are levied the reduced VAT rate as a means of assisting them to offer their services not only at a reduced cost, but also in driving further business. Crop-over stakeholders argue that they fall into that category as the island's main cultural showpiece generated in excess of $100 million in roughly 3 months. Minister Lashley has promised to take forward their concerns to Finance Minister Chris Sinclair, who is in charge of the umbrella agency that collects the VAT. In other news, the central bank's quick sale of its first $10 million series of savings bonds is a clear indication that Barbadians and other investors are looking for a quick return on their investment. So says Jeremy Stephen, the president of the Barbados Economic Society, who insists that the sell-out within 3 days of the financial instruments coming onto the market was not necessarily a reflection of renewed confidence in the government.
Larger institutions will, and larger businesses, and wealthier individuals will make a big mad grab for government debt. I don't necessarily believe, however, that it is an indicator that people think government paper is safer. I just think that the fact that savings bonds are liquid and very liquid in nature, and that the financial institutions, by law, or not by law, but are required and incentivized to even settle a counterparty's payments if it is that counterparty wishes to liquidate the savings bonds before maturity. It would be in the bank's interest to hold on to those savings notes, particularly given the heavily liquid nature of them.
The Caribbean's bread and butter industry recorded bumper arrivals for the first quarter, but it's not all smooth sailing for cruise business. Chairman of the Caribbean Tourism Organization, Barbadian Tourism Minister Richard Seeley, reported a 6% rise in tourist arrivals, representing the 17th quarter of growth for the region.
We have bolted out of the gates with a 6% increase in arrivals over the first quarter of 2014. So I think it's fair to say that we are well into recovery mode. We all know what happened in 2008 and the challenges that we've had recently with Caribbean tourism. But we've reached a point now where we estimate 7.9 million visitors to the Caribbean for the first 3 months. And this is the 5th consecutive year in which arrivals grew.
On the cruise side, business was slower, with the Caribbean posting a moderate 3.4% rise compared to 4.3% growth for the same period last year. Cruise arrivals are on course for further decline, but Minister Seeley suggested it was not a major concern at this stage.
Towards the middle of the year, vessels tend to reposition to the other side of the Atlantic, the Mediterranean and so on, and we anticipate that. But overall, we can see that there's no lack of tonnage being committed by the cruise sector to the region. In fact, what we are seeing is that with the larger vessels, there may be fewer calls but more passengers. That is just a trend that we're seeing with all of the major cruise lines, but they are still a significant commitment of tonnage to the region.
Meantime, President of the Barbados Hotel and Tourism Association is not entirely flattered by the numbers of long-stay arrivals in the country. Recently, the Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc. reported that the island had a record-breaking first 3 months in arrivals, posting a 15.1% increase for the first time in 25 years. But Sunil Chatrani says while he agreed that the numbers are up, the information provided was not enough.
I think that we can all agree that the numbers are better, but to what extent is questionable. This confusion only exists because of lack of information. The more useful data are room nights and rates. The constitutional change requires us to register with STR and supply relevant data that will allow us to get more meaningful information. It was agreed that the BHDF fund will pay the subscription dues for the first year for all hotels so that we can see the benefit of this reporting. If we had this type of information at hand today, we would know the level of increased room nights and the overall achieved room rate. We will not be here questioning numbers. With increased demand that we are now experiencing and improvement in the quality of our room stock, we should see improved rates across the board. But until we start measuring data properly, we will continue to guess how we are doing and will never optimize our true potential.
On a lighter note, the sweet sounds of soca brought Bridgetown alive last night at the 3rd edition of Crop Over in the city. This event was a further attempt at getting Barbadians in the Crop Over mood free of cost, following last weekend's mega cavalcade in Queen's Park. The show put on by the Royal Barbados Police Force in collaboration with the National Cultural Foundation was a huge thrill for hundreds that packed Independence Square. Patrons enjoyed performances from the likes of RPB, Edwin Yearwood, Soca Cartel featuring Blood and Mikey, Hyper Sounds, Ian Webster, among many others who performed free of cost. Barbados joins the rest of the world in celebrating World Environment Day. Residents were encouraged to wear green today, and several activities are taking place across the island in reflection of this year's theme, 7 billion dreams, 1 planet, consume with care.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Farley Hill, Crane Beach, fried chicken at Pug's Bar, all parts of Barbadian life that some might know, but others don't. So join me, Katrina Marshall, as I go about town and across country, peeking into tucked away districts and liming with the people who bring them to life. About town and across country, coming soon to Barbados Today, news you can trust.
Originally, the chairman of the Jamaica Tivoli Inquiry, Sir David Simmons, says he will not be apologizing to opposition MP Darrell Vaz. The politician this week called for a public apology from Sir David, a Barbadian, for reading unsubstantiated information from a police diary alleging that former drug lord Christopher Dudus Cook had stayed at his house after eluding a police dragnet back in May 2010. But Sir David says there is nothing to apologize for.
I find it ironic, to put it at its lowest, and certainly not congruent with common sense, that I should be pilloried by Mr. Vaz and asked to apologize to him for having his name and reputation cleared and vindicated. In these circumstances, of course, I do not apologize to Mr. Vaz. There's nothing to apologize for. His name and reputation have been cleared by that evidence yesterday. He should be grateful that it came in.
On the international scene, 68 people, including 15 children and 2 pregnant women, were found locked in containers aboard 4 trucks that had arrived from the Netherlands at a port in Essex. All 68 are now in the hands of the UK Border Force, which is part of the Home Office. 7 were taken to the nearby hospital after complaining of abdominal and chest pains, but their conditions are said to be not life-threatening. And on that note, we come to the end of our afternoon updates, but you can join us again this evening. Until then, remember to log on to www.barbadostoday.bb, subscribe to our e-paper, our email updates, and like us on Facebook. You can also catch us on Izumi Media and bus terminals or screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. We're also on Channel 101 online TV and Mix 96.9 FM. I'm Fenella Wedderburn. To have a wonderful Friday.
This news update is brought to you by...
So, I'm meeting Rico later. Gotta check in with the girls, but first, let me check my usage on the MyLime app. Now, what should I wear? Hashtag sexy.